that's not a manipulation of the trigger pull, that would be illegal. Bump stocks basically work when you fire the rifle, the recoil goes into your shoulder, and then there's a trigger mechanism in the stock of the gun that causes the gun to shoot again. Those are going to be now illegal under state law, even though they're not legal under federal law to begin with, under the new rules that Donald Trump passed. Minimum wage, that's a done deal. It's going to be $10, moving up $1 per hour after that. No exceptions for like college workers. That's going to happen. So be prepared for that. That is going to be a very big change in Virginia for people who are in the lower wage sector. Senate Bill 111, no excuse absentee voting. Currently now, if you want to absentee vote, which would mean you aren't going to be able to vote on election day, you can go to the registrar and vote early, but you had to have an excuse. It was really like liberal excuse, like, hey, I'm out of town for work or whatever, but they're just eliminating that, so you don't have to have any excuse to absentee vote. That will take effect on July 1, so you'll be able to do that starting in on the presidential election this year. Here's a good thing, by the way. This is a good one. Senate Bill 173. So stun guns are going to be allowed to be in your car at a school. Now, this is a change because this was not allowed until this bill passed. But basically, a stun gun, basically a device that you can zap somebody with. You'll be allowed to have that in your car in a school parking lot, in your car, as long as it's in a locked container. So basically like in your glove box that's locked. So you'll be allowed to have that for protection. I mean, that's not going to do you much if you're being chased down in the parking lot, but at least you would have it in your vehicle if you needed it. That is a change that is more beneficial. All right, red flag laws. So this one's still problematic. I'm not going to comment on red flag laws in this video because the Senate and the House still haven't reconciled what is going to happen here. So there's that Senate Bill 240. I'm going to do a whole video about red flag laws once they finally resolve their differences. It has passed in both chambers with different versions, but it is not 100% positive for me to tell you exactly what it says, and it's going to need a lot of time. So I'm going to do that video separately, probably within the next week after they figure out how they're going to work that one out. Payday loans, SB 421. That is, okay. So right now the law says you couldn't get a payday loan more than $500. That threshold's going to be increased to $2,500. And they're going to cap the interest rate at 36%. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever gotten yourselves in a payday loan situation, but they're disastrous. You borrow money, the interest rate is super high, you're basically just making minimum payments every week, and you never get it paid back. So the idea of a payday loan is just to kind of draw it out as long as possible. They've required this to be a 24-month term. They've put a 36% interest rate on this. I mean, 36% is a huge amount of money. If you are borrowing money as a payday loan, you are in a bad spot in life. I think that they could have done a lot better protecting the more vulnerable people in society. These are not people that have credit cards or good credit. These are people that have, a big problem, and giving them a higher threshold to borrow money at a 36% interest rate is what the General Assembly thought was great. Marijuana, Senate Bill 2. I don't really know enough about marijuana yet to tell you this, but it looks like it's going to be just a $50 fine. Can't be 100% sure though. Morrissey, Stanley, and Senator Eben are on the conference committee. We'll see how that shakes itself out. The House wanted to make it completely decriminalized. The Senate didn't want that. There looks like they're going to settle on it just being a $50 civil fine, which that's kind of how North Carolina does it. But I'll report more on that once we know. All right, undocumented workers. They are going to get a driver privilege card, which you might as well just call it what it is. It's going to be a driver's license. It's not going to look any different than yours. It's only difference is it's going to say not eligible to federally vote on it. But basically, we are going to have people that are illegally here in the United States, and everybody knows that they are illegally here. And the state government is going to say, yes, we recognize you are illegally here, but you're welcome to get a driver's privilege card, and we're not going to rat you out to the feds because of it. So that is a done deal. And then universal background checks. So this one, again, also has not been completely worked out. The Senate passed it on Friday. I think it's coming up on Monday, maybe Tuesday this week. It's going to pass, but they're still fighting about the language between the Senate and the House. I will tell you that what seems to be fairly settled is when you're going to do a private party sale between two people, you're going to have to involve a dealer, so a gun shop like mine. They have capped how much dealers can charge for that at $15. Now, there is also a $2 background check fee. So basically, it's going to probably add $17 to the transaction. That is where we're looking at. There's still some discrepancy about who has to do it and how it has to go forward, and that's that. I'll report more on the universal background check bill once the Senate finally passes whatever they're going to pass, and if they don't pass what the House wants them to pass, which it looks like they are not going to, it's going to have to go to a conference committee as well. So, hey, good news. We're at 20 minutes instead of 30. So I did everything I wanted to tell you. Let me just look through these comments and see if there's anybody else here that wants me to ask them. You know, Senator Chase was in the room here for a little bit. So if you want, you can comment on her little post about my haircut of everything you want to tell her. It will ding her when you do that. And you should do that for her making fun of my haircut. All right. Well, that's it, guys. A lot more to come. I mean, red flag laws are going to be big. We're going to have to talk about those. Also, I want to tell you two more things. Very important. One, I did file a legal challenge on Friday with the Virginia Supreme Court about one of the bills. And this doesn't really apply to a lot of you, but I did want to tell you, you're all asking me, what am I going to do? Look, I did file one, and here's the issue. The legislature passed a law that said if you get involuntarily committed to a mental hospital, and then you appeal it, and the appeals judge finds that the lower court judge's decision was in error, despite that, you lose your gun rights for life until a judge reinstates you. Now, I had a big problem with that, and I spoke to Senator Chase about this, and I said, Senator, this is no different than if you get convicted of a DUI in the lower court, and then you appeal it, and you win on appeal, and they say, well, although you won, we're still going to take your driver's license away for a year. That's not how the law works. When you appeal something, you get what's called a de novo trial. And so for them to say that when you appeal, you don't get the benefit of a de novo trial is a violation of Virginia law. Now, I realize that's not a big, huge issue for a lot of you, but it was a big issue to me, and it's a big issue to my clients because I represent a lot of people that were incorrectly ruled incompetent by a lower court judge. And we appeal those cases all the time, and we win those cases more often than not. And so it's not fair if you appeal and you go through all the process of an appeal that you would still lose your gun rights. So fighting for that. I have a case before the Virginia Supreme Court, so I'm trying to piggyback that into that case, hoping they're going to take that. So that's one thing that I've done. Second thing, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a guy yesterday at the Bernie Sanders rally in Virginia Beach who had a big Trump flag, and he was asked to leave by the campus security, and when he was walking out, he got tackled by literally walking out. The security guard grabbed his flag, threw the flag down, and tackled him as he was walking out. Complete assault. He's contacted me. I'm going to get involved. A lot more of that to come. That's a big deal. and you're going to hear a lot about that tomorrow. When we're going to have a news conference about this tomorrow afternoon. So be watching for that. That's a big deal. I mean, look, we can all have our political differences, right? And if the guy had been like refusing to leave or whatever, maybe we have to get into a melee. But in this situation, the guy was literally walking away. And as he was walking away, I think he's paused just for a second. When he paused, the security guard grabbed his flag, threw it to the ground, and then threw him to the ground. And we have it all on video. So great day for